Welcome back to the JumpifyLabs podcast, the show for founders who want growth without the guesswork. Here we mix data, AI, and real talk around the systems that drive predictable growth. And today's guest is someone who knows how fast a business can collapse and how powerful it is to build with intention. After losing almost everything when COVID hit, he reinvented his whole model and now guides founders on how to create those strategic advantages that make business grow even when the market shifts. Rick Meekins, welcome to the show.
Jay, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. Let's do this.
Let's rock and roll, brother. Let's start off. For the people who haven't heard of you yet, what's the simplest way to describe the work you're doing today?
Right now, what I do is I work with founders to help them create those breakout ideas. There are so many people that do kind of the same thing, especially in like the service space. And what I do is I try to help them, or I help them create that differentiation. And we try to do it in a way that's very difficult to replicate. And we roll not just from the idea space, but how does that impact the rest of the business? So if we're looking at business development, for example, it's like, what does that entire customer journey need to look like? How do we implement that? What's the impact on the company going to be? And how do we integrate it into the company successfully?
Yes, and you've been doing this for over 15 years. What originally pulled you back into this world or pulled you into this world initially?
I had a restaurant about a long time back in the 1900s, in the late 1900s. I had a restaurant.
The late
The late
1900s.
1900s. Yeah, I'm just like old, you know. My kids say I'm old as dirt. So that's what I used to tell my parents. Anyway, so I interacted with a lot of business owners, and there were a lot of times they were like solopreneurs, people that had a business and they could do the thing that they do really well, but they didn't really understand how to create differentiation. They didn't understand how to expand their companies. But that was something that was kind of natural to me. I was really always good at problem solving, putting puzzles together and that sort of thing. And so it was just like, I'm running a restaurant that had like 25 people. I had 5 different lines of service and we're doing the thing every day. It's like, how come I can't take this skill, or let me take this skill that I have, teach it to other people and help them build their companies that way. And so that's what I've been doing for the past 20 years.
Yeah, and what type of businesses come to you that tend to get the biggest transformations?
Biggest transformation, it is companies that are started by a founder with a particular skill. So for example, if you're in construction, you're in a home services company, stuff like that. Companies like that, they're really good at what they do. And what we do is we go in and we build their infrastructure and we help them, again, create those breakout opportunities.
Yeah, and you're working across multiple industries. How do you know what strategies translate well from one industry to the next? Or is there some common strategies that are kind of universal?
So a lot of times, as you kind of alluded to, a lot of times industries, they focus on what do we do in this industry? What are the cool things that we're doing in this industry? What works, right? But what I find, and the benefit of working with so many different industries, is I get to borrow ideas from other industries. We get to innovate by walking around rather than following that same path. I've never been the guy that follows the rules. And so, so this is the advantage that we create with the companies that we work with.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about your Sherpa model, because that's something that was super unique. That was something that unique I noticed on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, the Sherpa model is really great for me because, I didn't want to be a coach. I didn't want to just be in a space where I'm trying to make you feel good about yourself, or, it's just like tell you the stuff that you could probably figure out on your own. But I didn't want to be a consultant, because as a consultant, what happens is, we figure out what the problem is going to be. We go engineer the problem, but sometimes, it kind of puts us in a situation where, especially with more complex projects, you can kind of take your eye off what's changing in the marketplace. But as a guide, I get to show you what you need to do. I get to give you specific directions. So I'm going to argue with it. I'm going to say, hey, you know what, that's wrong. That's stupid. We need to go in this other direction so you don't fall and die. And then I get to continue to navigate. I get to continue to watch how the environment is changing and say, hey, you know what, this is going to change. We need to do this other thing. So it gives me clear vision when I'm guiding the folks that I work with.
Man, that's so good, because I love how you said, like, well, the one answer you gave before this, and my head was still kind of bouncing around with it, how you're able to pull and borrow strategies from other industries. But I want to go back to the part when COVID hit. So when COVID hit, like, you lost a lot of things, but what did those first few weeks look like within your company?
It was tough. We continued to move forward. My team was like very optimistic. We're like, go get stuff done. My team was a very self-driven team. So everybody kind of had their own areas that they're working in. And so the initial hit didn't really impact us in a large way. We're looking at it, kind of like, okay, how do we regroup? What do we need to do? But then we had one of our major clients decided to just pull out on us. And it was a major amount of money for us. And it was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Well, we're going to continue to do the thing that we do, and we're going to regroup. We're going to figure out this next best way to get our company back on its feet. And so we had a little bit of a runway. We said, okay, we've got a month or so that we can run, but we've got to make things work. And I think that what may have happened is I think that we kind of went into a panic mode. We were trying to do things and we just never got traction again. And it was just so painful because I'm sitting here and I'm looking at financials and I'm just like, oh crap. And I know that there are a lot of things in the company that are happening that I cannot do on my own. I just don't have the capacity. I don't even have the capability in some areas because we hire people that are smarter than us, right? I mean, that's how you grow a successful company. And I'm sitting here just like, oh crap, what are we going to do? How are we going to scale back in a way that's successful? One of the things that, I give my clients is I've got like this shepherd mentality. I want to take care of everybody. I want to make sure everybody's okay. And I'm trying to take care of people beyond my capability to do so. And in doing so, I really caused myself and the company more harm than needed to be done.
And how did you navigate that?
Badly. I mean, just being transparent.
I love it.
I made I made a really bad, loan decision. Was able to take care of some short-term needs, but I didn't have the thing that I really struggled with the most was that I didn't believe that we weren't going to be able to find the clients because we were running at the time COVID hit. I think we were running like 20, 25 projects. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we were really rocking and roll. I didn't believe that we couldn't recover from that. And I was wrong. I was wrong. And so, the money runs out, the team is like disappearing. Some people stayed on longer than they needed to. And I'm still like driving on hope. And, hope's not a strategy, man. You know, our strategy wasn't working. I should have been watching the numbers like really carefully, but I'm being overly optimistic. And it was just bad. It was the SBA loan probably saved us. We were able to get, a couple of those. Eventually we got a new client in and, we built up again and we started rolling again, but it just wasn't the same. One of the things that happened though, I really learned about, quite recently was, I was actually suffering from limiting belief. And it wasn't that, I wasn't willing to go out and start another company or retrench or whatever, but it was an emotional thing. There was a fear that I wasn't aware of that probably prevented me from making some of the decisions that I would have made before. You know what I'm saying? So tactically, yes, I'm going to go out and I'm going to start a company. I'm going to build new products, services. I'm going to hire people, et cetera, et cetera. But there's always this little thing in the back of my head that's saying, hey, Rick, what if it fails? What if the economy, da, 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 da. Be cautious, be more cautious than you've ever been. Have a backup plan. You don't have a backup plan, we don't move forward. And it was just a mess.
Yeah. When I asked how did you navigate that, and you said badly, my response was, I love it. And I don't mean to say that I love that fact that you didn't handle it well. I love that you're transparent and humanizing yourself because a lot of people didn't make it through those times. If you're watching on YouTube, you see it, but if you're listening, you'll see that Rick has the word relentless behind him, and it just a testament to your relentless nature, not giving up, because a lot of people would have. And a lot of people did. But a lot of people in business, they have this sense of doom and gloom. They have these intense worries and they feel like it may not be as bad as COVID, but the business is not going in the right direction. What would you tell those people? Well, how would you first start off on an engagement with them? Because a lot of times those people will be like, no, I can't afford it. But when exactly what they need to do is invest in some outside help.
That's always a difficult conversation because I mean it's that same adage. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You know, One of the things that I do is I really try to help them understand where the opportunity is. If you do this thing, then you should result in XYZ. And I always go into when I'm proposing to someone, I always give them an idea of what kind of return on investment they should receive. But the other piece to that is every day you delay doing this thing, this is revenue, this is opportunity that you're going to miss out on. You don't want to be that person that's looking 10 years down the road and going, man, I wish I had done that, made that investment, 5 years prior, because I would be that much further along. You know what I'm saying? We can't get time back. And this is the tough thing. And sometimes we have to make those uncomfortable decisions. Anytime we're going to make a change, it's going to be hard. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, I got to do this thing. I've never been down this road before. But making those investments, being willing to suffer a little bit gets us those results that we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of leads us into this conversation about AI because I'm dealing with the same thing. A lot of people are unwilling to change because what they've done in the past has got them to this certain level, but they need to do something different to get to the next level. And with this huge tidal wave of AI technology coming out, you are going to have to be an adapter or else you're just going to be left behind. And it goes back to what you said. You can't get that time back. You're going to wish you did it so much sooner. And that's what we're doing with the people that we're working with. But the people that we don't work with, I feel very strongly like, man, this can help you so much, but you're just resistant to it. And you can lead a horse to water, but you can't lead it to drink.
Yep.
So
Yep.
what's uh what's one mistake that people you're seeing, the people that you're working with, what's a mistake that they're making on this is a technical question, but in the terms of their go-to-market strategy or their marketing or anything along those lines on product?
On just product in general?
Yeah, like what's a mistake that they're making when they're designing their strategy on getting the product out there, either on the production side, the marketing
Yeah.
side?
Yeah. I see a couple of things that I'm going to say bother me. Um, a couple of opportunities. One I see is people don't always understand the full cost of what they're doing. So, for example, if you had a coaching business, right, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to charge you X number of dollars per hour for each coaching hour, but you may not be taking into consideration, that build up. It's like, okay, I have to prep for each meeting. After each meeting, I have to send notes. They may email me, they may call me in between, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all these little costs that are associated with that. But there's also the cost of sales. How many sales calls you have to actually do in order to, win that client over? So there's all these other little costs that go into, what you're actually charging on your rate. Another thing that I see is we don't think in terms of how do we move our client through a pipeline. So we bring our client in at a certain level. What is that life cycle of that customer going to be? Is that customer going to be, okay, we're going to bring them in at that level and that's the end of it? Or we're going to bring them in at a certain level and then we're going to upgrade them. Okay, we're not upgrading them for the sake of upgrading them. We're upgrading them to provide additional value, which means at this bottom level, we need to demonstrate value and then say, hey, you know what? You're doing really great here. You can do even better if you move up to this level and create additional value for them. We have to think from that perspective. Our customers buying our value. They're not necessarily buying our time. They're not necessarily buying our expertise. They're buying the value that they're getting from this. People don't even care sometimes about the degrees and everything else that we have with that. It's about the experience and the value that they're getting from us.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give you a chance to spotlight some of the cool things that you've done for the clients that you work with. Why don't you share a big transformation that's near and dear to you? Maybe the one that you felt like had the biggest impact, something that people might get an idea from.
For sure, for sure. One of the coolest, one of the funnest projects I did. I was working with a construction company, and it was cool because I remember walking in there the first time, and it looked like a classroom. Right, there's six people working in there, and they're working at these desks, and they're just spread around the room. And there's just like no space. So it's like they're trying to like squeeze in and out of the spaces. And the guy says, Rick, I want to grow this company. I'm not quite sure how to do that. I said, okay, no problem. Let's work on this. And so we started really from the very basic ground levels, just like, why are you here? What do you hope to accomplish? What is the impact you're going to make on the world? And then from there, we just started building, right? And so we moved from this tiny room into this, I think it was like a 30,000 square foot office space. We end up with 26 people working there, plus what do you call it, a warehouse space in this place. We went from 6 million to about 24 million in about 3 years. We got on the Inc. 5000. We started getting local visibility. So we're doing like not for profit stuff. We're doing like the local chamber, stuff like that. This was a really cool project because we built all the departments, we built the processes, the systems. We lowered their turnover. They were turning over 300% per year. We got their turnover down to like maybe 20%. It was just people that just didn't quite fit. We upgraded their technology. I mean, it was a great project. It was an all in project. We did that project, like I said, I think it was about 2016 until about COVID. Worked probably about half the way through the year of 2020.
Hmm. Very cool. That's a big number for the turnover. What's a mindset shift that you're hoping listeners walk away with? I know you have a wide range of experience, but like one takeaway that someone listening there they're listening to you talk and you have all this experience, but what's one thing that for the majority of people that are listening that can impact them? Like what's something that you want to get them to take away with?
I look at things through the window of winning. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't necessarily mean it's like, hey, we're going to take the market, we're going to have global domination, but we have to set a goal where we want to go. Okay, but we have to understand when we set that goal, okay, there's never going to be a straight line from here to there. Right now, who would have expected where we are right now? I mean, the economy, the way that, jobs are, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody expects this, and we have to be able to look at every situation individually and make a pivot, make an adjustment so we can continue to move forward towards our goal. There's not necessarily a reason to change what that win is. It doesn't mean that we have to change our goal, but we may not be able to get there in the path that we want to. We have to be creative sometimes. We have to borrow from other industries. We have to, think differently. If we're not willing to do that, we can't be successful. So always, always, always just think in terms of a relentless pursuit of winning.
Nice. I love it. The competitive athlete in me is like, let's go.
Right.
Yeah, you're hyping me up, brother. I love it. And you're right though, man. Like, cause you talk about like somebody who's really good in this field, whatever it is that they're really good at, and then they want to turn that into a business. It's gonna force them to think differently. They have to be competitive and step outside of the normal things that have got them to be good at this. When now you're starting to build a business, which requires a completely different skill set.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So, brother, where's a good place for people to connect with you if they want to either connect with you, have a conversation, or just follow your work?
You can catch me on LinkedIn. Rick Meekins is going to be my handle there. I've got a podcast also. It's called the Relentless Pursuit of Winning Podcast. You go to RPOW Podcast, RPOW Podcast.com. You can catch me there.
Yeah, okay. All's good, brothers. Now that Rick's left his breadcrumbs, be sure to reach out to him if you want to have a conversation with Rick. Definitely reach out to his website. His podcast is available as well. So if you wanted to get a sample, if you were maybe a little bit nervous because Rick has super high energy and maybe you're not, maybe you want to just get a sample size. He left you all those links there. And if you like conversations like this, tune in for more. We're bringing down more leaders just like Rick. So tune in, subscribe, do what you need to do. My name is Jay. We'll talk again soon. Take care.